How can you decode the situation in your life? How can you read the signs what your life wants to show you right now to understand what's really going on in order for you to be able to transform your limitations? Come and follow me in this episode where we're gonna see and discuss, and I want to give you an overview about the different ways of how you can decode that information. Welcome to my channel. I'm Sarah, and in this episode I want to talk with you about how you can decode your situation. How can you decipher the information that lies underneath all of it, like the limitation that is still stuck in your subconscious and that wants to be seen, that wants to be felt, that wants to get out and just be released. So, how do we do that? Well, we can start, and that's the most important key point for you. Whenever you feel triggered, whenever you react emotionally towards something, that's a really, really big sign that there's something going on within you. It's a sign that there's something stuck within your system that it's time for you to recognize it. It's time for you to put your attention to it, like your conscious mind to it, your focus. So whenever something happens in your outside world, if it's your boss, your friends, or a random situation, you not even know those people, and suddenly you feel angry, or you feel hate, or it makes you really sad, or you get very emotional and you enter into the field of loss and separation. Whenever that happens, that's a really good trigger point. That's a really good key to understand, or to open up to understand what the situation, what the information like what the information wants to tell you, what it consists of. And then if you look further into, you can understand, or maybe go see what your limiting belief is about it. If you feel that hate, and then start going into it, start writing about it, talking about it, thinking about it, and then you will discover what it is about, or even if it's just an emotion, because it's a suppressed emotion within your field that just reacts with the outside. For example, other people, okay, let's imagine there's a certain information in your system that's vibrating the frequency, for example, of anger, to in a specific field of your own limiting belief system. So when something happens from the outside, which has the same frequency, you are reacting to that. Because if you think about when we include the concept of law of attraction, the same attracts the same. So you're reacting to that, which is, if you look at it from a higher perspective, it's really good, because it only shows you what's still hiding within you, and it wants to just be released and healed and transformed, however you want to call it. So I know in that situation you're stuck in this emotional loop, or you can't get out of it, or you feel anger and your mind just keeps repeating a loop on blaming someone else, or discussing in your mind with someone else about the situation. So just be conscious about, aware about your emotions, and then you will figure out with your mind where the limiting belief is connected to, or what it is about. Because that's, for me, I would consider that emotional intelligence, and you're getting more and more aware whenever suddenly you're out of balance and you feel you're turning into a little child and your reactions suddenly change so much and your mood goes down, and then go back and think, okay, what happened exactly in that situation that totally changed my whole mood and my emotions and my behavior? In this episode, I don't want to go further into how you can transform that, but I want to show you how you can decipher, what life wants to show you. Decipher the information, the limitations that are stuck in your system. You can also go further, not even with situations, but when you see movies, where do you feel triggered? Or even on TikTok or Instagram, social media, there are certain videos that trigger us. And I mean, for me, most of the time, it's emotional videos that really touch me. And where I start crying, because I recognize, for me, for example, that it still triggers a feeling of loss and separation when you actually see something very positive and very heartwarming about family and all that department. So, for example, for me, it shows me, okay, I still have something going on about the feeling of desiring a home, desiring, family, like the concept of family, the feeling that family gives you, or the feeling that a community gives you, the friends and this whole structure of having a really good foundation in life. And personally, for me, that is something I just realized a couple of days ago, actually, that I'm still looking. Like, there's still this part which is seeking for healing, because there's a trauma within me that is so traumatized, is so hurt by the feeling of separation and loss. And from my point of reality, I do believe that it comes from past lives where this is an information I'm still, like, a limitations and suppressed emotions that I'm still carrying from my past life into this one. And because since I was a baby, a little child, the same information kept repeating in my outside environment for me to trigger, that for that situation to trigger me. So I'm getting aware of it. And I guess now, personally, for me, that's the time where I'm looking into that, And there's something else I want to get into, because I'm just thinking about it right now. If you're working on yourself and energetically, you do light work, you maybe even in cooperation or working with healers that help you see your energy field or your past lives, or however your access to that information or that belief system is, that reality. But at the beginning of my journey, I already told you that in the stages of transformation, the first one was I needed to know what happened in my past life. And then it's also talking about, you automatically enter in the field of your past generations and what you took on, like what they passed on to you. And I think that's a really interesting subject, to be honest, because at the beginning of my journey, I thought that that's something I've been taking over, from my grandma, from my mom, from any other, like, people in my family. And back then, in the transformation and healing work, I kind of took this energy out of my system and I gave it back to them, saying, hey, you know what? That's not my shit. Kind of, you you put this on me, you gave this to me, and I'm giving it back to you. That's not my problem. That's how it started. But then I figured out with taking a closer look into the secrets and mysteries of the law of attraction and finding more and more information that about how it really works and how the energies work, your picture is getting more whole and fulfilled about the energies, or I mean, always depending on your belief system. So I realized that if there's something, for example, any subject like an energy that my grandma, for example, gave me, if we enter in this concept of reality, of this belief, then I realized I allowed that to happen. I allowed that energy to enter into my field. I allowed that to sum up, like to pile up in my field. But how is that possible? Because I'm already carrying that. I'm already carrying that information, that energy structure of a certain limiting belief or suppressed emotion that's connected with the limiting belief in my system. So the only way for that energy from other people to come into my field back then is because, if you remember, same attracts same. So it was drawn to me. And the only thing that happened, again, if you see it from a higher perspective, it made it bigger. And yes, maybe it influenced me at the beginning of not feeling good, whatever triggered me from the outside. But at the end, all it did, it was just putting more attention to it for me finally to see. And that's all it is. If you think about it, it's you're ready to see, you're ready to understand, you're ready to feel and let this information that is still stuck in your subconscious box, it's time for you to release it. And so the way I saw that about the law of attraction or energy work or light work, it changed a lot, and it puts you into a field of taking responsibility, like really, really taking responsibility for your own life, for your own vibration, for the information you vibrate in your system. And I started making it kind of more a game out of it, because every time something triggers me, I'm like, okay, that's something new to decode and figure out. And it's just, I know when we're in this spiral of emotions and we can't get out of it, and we just hate ourselves, or we feel so angry about ourselves, then it's hard to get out. But just, it's okay, feel it, and then afterwards you understand, okay, it's an emotion, it's something that wants to be seen, and it's okay, I'm gonna figure it out. And I want to encourage you that whatever you're facing, there is a solution for it. There is a reason why this is happening. Accept that. As long as you resist something and a situation or a trigger, it can't go away. It can't heal. It cannot be seen. And it's gonna be still saved and anchored in your system. And then something else is gonna happen. And then you're gonna feel it again, until you're let go of the resistance towards it and accept and see what it really wants to show you. Talking about emotions or feeling anger and hate, there's another good way of how you, once you feel that and it's time for you to decode more the source of the limitation, remind yourself that whenever you feel angry whenever you feel hate, like I'm so angry about that person, or uh, and this emotion is just so big, then ask yourself, whenever you put something towards another person, go and take this and put it back to you and ask yourself, why am I angry about me? You know, or I feel so angry that this person doesn't respect me. And then turn it around and ask yourself, maybe is there a little possibility that, is there a part within me that doesn't respect myself, like where I'm not respecting myself? And whenever you're angry at a situation that really triggers you, maybe to get out of it, you can ask yourself, what's the positive thing that I can learn from that situation? And immediately, if you change your perspective or the way you think about the situation, you're getting out of this cage of emotion, of like the emotional carousel, this, or the thought carousel your mind is trapped in. And with going out of this and changing the question, you can change your perspective about it, you know? Or any other, I mean, we can go so much further into this, but I just wanted to give you like a broad view of how you can start embracing or strengthening your emotional intelligence by just seeing the key is your emotions, you know, whenever you feel triggered. And then furthermore, if you're at the stage where you're like, okay, I want to know, I want to figure it out, I want to see what that wants to show me, and then you can work with tools that help you see it, because then you put your intention to, you focus on, okay, I want to get deep on this, you know, I'm not afraid anymore, I'm embracing this information, whatever it wants to show me, whatever I need to feel. For me personally, the tools that helped me back then, I was doing a lot with cards, not particularly tarot cards, but more oracle cards. And I use different ways of working with them, you know, putting them on your table, or shuffling them, or I mean, however where your intuition leads you. But that is something, the cards, that helped me a lot to decode more the frequency that is behind that situation or that emotion or the limitation that I think, you know, I feel hate or whatever, but I didn't understand where my mind goes when I feel that certain emotion. And the cards helped me to decode that better. Or there are videos, you know, YouTube videos where really gifted people do the same with cards. You know, you pick a pile from one of three, and it helps you to understand the vibration behind it, and or reading books and learning more about the illusions your mind is trapped in. Or I mean, if you have if you talk about a more broader concept about mind over matter, and there are so many books about those concepts. So yeah, books and cards and videos were really helpful tools to understand that better and to work with that, you know. If you're open to that, and back then it was a really interesting and helpful tool for me as well, is I don't know how you say it right in English, kinesiology. I'm sorry for that. In German it's kinesiology, but I think you know what I mean. And it helps you. Well, for me personally, it's a muscle test, you know, and you can ask your own system with your muscles. We'll read more about it. I don't want to get further into it, but it really helped me to improve my intuition. Because first, when I started with that, I wanted to control the answer, but that didn't work. And it helps you tune your intuition. And at one point, I didn't need it anymore. And I just knew, you know, from doing the muscle test with well, I did it with my thumbs, but there are different ways of how you can do it. And then a couple years later, I improved myself so much, or for me, the journey was that I didn't need that tool anymore. And you're gonna see your tools are gonna change. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope I was able to inspire and give you some good inputs of how you can decode your information in your system. And talking about books and cards, I have you're gonna see in the description that there's a link to book recommendations. And within the book recommendations, at the end, you're also gonna have card recommendations for you to try out, or those I worked with and really helped me out. Yeah, and if you do talk German, there's also a German version for it with more books and more cards, because a lot of them, the ones I read and worked with, unfortunately, they're not available in English. But either way, have a look, give it a try. If you're looking for more inspiration and information about mind over matter and finding different perspectives about that. Shine bright, enjoy your life, embrace it. You're wonderful. All the best.